Hey, it's Alex. I'm here in Toronto, sketching the last bits of sunshine before I go inside. And today I'm going to talk about why you, as an entrepreneur or potential entrepreneur, should probably live in a big city. Now, this topic may be a little bit controversial because I know lots of guys, especially in their 20s, what they want to do is they want to build a business so they can travel everywhere without having to get a job in one of these buildings here. And that's all great, fantastic. I also traveled all around the world. I went to countries where there are no big cities like this. And I lived in tiny little places, tiny little villages, and tiny little towns. But what I found at the end of the day is that I enjoy the big cities the most, all right? Now, that's of course just personal preference. There's also a logical reason behind why you, if you want to build a real business and if you want to be really successful, and make an impact on the world, why you should also consider living in a big city. So the first point is, if you've ever tried living in a big city, I mean, certainly I've noticed it's so freaking competitive. I got here, a previous city I was in, it was kind of easy to find rent, for example. It was, everyone just goes there and you can get a room, an apartment, or whatever, a house. It's relatively easy. Within a few days, you have it. Usually I had it before I even arrived. Here, oh boy, it's a 7 million person city, almost impossible. Okay, average rent was $701 a day on Airbnb, just to give you a random example. And I'm like, I can't do this. I almost ran away. I thought, I can't do this. It's just insane city, and I'm never going to find a place to stay here. But actually, this is to be expected. It's because in a big city, only the law of capitalism, only the law of supply and demand can survive, right? Like all these buildings, all this expensive stuff here, all this concentration of people, it brings with it high prices. And only the systems that are the most efficient, only the jobs that make the most money, only the people that are most efficient in what they're doing with their lives are able to live in cities, especially if you live downtown. And what that brings with it is you go anywhere, you turn around in Starbucks, you turn around in a bar, you talk to the person next to you, and it's a business owner, or it's like some investor, or some world traveler, or some famous writer, and so on. And I found that, generally speaking, like no offense to anyone, people tend to be just a little bit cooler. And I mean, obviously it's subjective, right? You could say, yeah, well, they're just those silly city slickers. What do they know? But they tend to have adjusted to living in an environment with way too many people, way too competitive. Everything is way too expensive. So if you're not at a certain level, if you're not, if you're not able to communicate properly, if you're not able to contribute to society at a very, very high level, it's very hard to survive. It's impossible to live anywhere expensive or fancy or populated. Same, this is not just Toronto. It's just a place. It's just a place. There's so many cities like this. You can go to Tokyo, Japan, or Osaka. Osaka, it's much smaller, of course. Or you can go to London. It's always the same thing. There's so many people, and I found I'm always the poorest person in the room. Right? You walk into a party, like you get invited somewhere to a roof party or whatever, and you tend to be just the poorest person in the room. And what this does is, you arrive somewhere where you're the shit, right? I have a friend, he lives in Bulgaria. He's the shit there. He's the shit. He's so cool. He knows everyone, makes more money than them. But he goes to a big city and he's just like way below average. So what happens is you're surrounded by people who are way above and you have to step up your game. If you don't, you're going to have to go back because you kind of get outcompeted. You get kind of shoved out the city. Okay, well, go back, come back when you're ready to perform, come back when you're ready to work, come back when you're ready to get shit done. And automatically, just by being here, okay, just by being in a big city, the level of performance and whatever it is you're doing, not just business, just goes up almost automatically. Or you have to leave. And I found this to be the case everywhere. Even in places like Barcelona, like very kind of relatively cheap city for 4 million people, it's still relatively cheap. Even there, summer hits, you better be, you better be on top of your shit. Otherwise, the prices go up. You get kicked out, basically. And that's why I love big cities. I love that competitiveness. I love that drive that gives me. It forces me to step up the game because I think I'm motivated. And I think I'm passionate and whatever. But I go to places like that and I'm like, okay, well, here's 10 other people that I meet in a single day that work harder than me, make more money than me, are more successful than me, and I just step up my game. So as I had mentioned before, only people doing very efficient things survive. So for example, if you go to a big city, companies that are not performing just like the people that work in the companies, they can't survive. So if you go to a baker, right, you go to get some Greek food, anything like that, you tend to encounter at least a very highly efficient business that has had to adjust to, it's competing with banks, it's competing with everyone else for that office space basically. So any business in a big city tends to be a much higher level, have a better website, have a better marketing strategy, have better pricing strategy, just deliver better customer service, have better products, right? You go to a big city, suddenly you find way more organic food than in the countryside. It's crazy, but it's true. There's way more variety because the local businesses, they have to adjust. Yeah, it's more expensive, but you meet the people, you meet the businesses that are performing at a level that you just won't find in like a little town somewhere. And that's really interesting for a business owner. Any business that I visit, right? If I get a haircut, it's like $60 fucking here. If you get a good one, it's I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna talk to the business owner. I'm gonna make sure that I'm learning from them. And any business owner here, any business owner in a big city, I always learn from them. They always have some stuff, and I'm like, fuck. Even after 9 years in business, I'm like, fuck. I never thought of that. It's genius. And every year they innovate, it changes, and you can see in a city like Hong Kong, for example. That's a city where I go sometimes. Basically, every year, if you come back there every year, all these stores on the streets, they all change. You go, oh, there used to be a McDonald's here. Oh, it's gone. Oh, yeah, it's gone because it's crazy competitive, and people go out of business like that if they don't adjust. And it's absolutely amazing, incredible place to meet very successful people, very high concentration. I never get so many like invites for interviews and so many invites to do events and all kinds of cool shit, unless I'm in a big city. Like obviously in a village, who's gonna, if I go to Bulgaria, is almost no one there. Whereas I come here, within 5 days, I had 17 people messaging me on Facebook like, hey, let's do this. Hey, let's do an event. Hey, let's do a live stream and so on. People take you more seriously because you're not in a little village anymore. And I encourage you, if you want to start a business or if you just want to be successful, even a job, just do it. Just move to a big city. There's police sirens, there's noise, everything expensive, but it's totally worth it. Everyone should have lived in a city like Toronto or New York or Tokyo or London or LA, right? Those are the big ones. So, well, what is that there? Okay, some kind of ambulance. So I'll leave it at that. Let me know what you think in comments below. Do subscribe, and yeah, talk to you soon.